Hello and welcome to Maximize 26. Wow, look at this. Look at this studio, isn't it amazing? We first ran our Maximize events last January, it's almost exactly a year to the day, and we had a TV. Now we've got a TV studio. Look at this, it's incredible. A massive shout out to Howl Studios for sorting all this out. We've got producer Chris mixing on the magic buttons there. We've got Izzy keeping us right, and you'll hear Izzy a little bit later. So we've got a really impactful session for you today. We really want to help you get 2026 off to a flying start and really build the strategy and the tools and techniques that will absolutely make you win this year. This is going to be a year of real change, and we're probably all feeling it now, and we'll go into that in a little bit more depth, and we'll give you the strategies and the tools to actually come out of this year thinking, yeah, that's the year when it all changed. That's the year when I really leveled up. So I've got a presentation for you. This is absolutely live, so if things go wrong, just bear with us. But yeah, we're going to go to the presentation now, and we'll run through, and then we've got some guests to come on. This is going to be amazing. I hope you've all got a pad and pen, because there's going to be some key insights. There's going to be some amazing takeaways. So please make sure that you keep a note of them. So if we're ready, producer Chris, there we go. We're on. So is this you? Our mission is to help you build a brilliant business, career, and life you absolutely love. And we work with a lot of clients. So we've had rapid growth in 2025. We're working with global clients such as Siemens Energy. We're working with clients overseas in the UAE and in the USA. We're working with some of the key business support agencies in the Northeast. We're working with Premier League football club foundations, Newcastle and Crystal Palace. So you can see that we've grown a lot since our Maximize 25 event, but we're also at our foundation helping lots of founders. So we've got different programs at different levels. We want to impact as many people as possible. We want to help people grow businesses, expand their lives, their opportunities, take on employees, help the economy. That's our mission. We want everyone to have a life well lived. So this is this you? Now, when we came to Max 25, there was 4 of us in the top left, the 4 founders. What we've done since then is, it's amazing when you reflect on it. And we've built an academy. So all of the people on the screen are in our academy, which means they are training to be coaches, and they will be CMI accredited coaches. So we've got the ability to fit people into very different roles where it's necessary. So if we work with a client, skill set or speciality, those coaches to fit. Hopefully, some of you know me already. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. If you've got LinkedIn and we're not connected, please connect. So I'm John Forth, and I'm a co-founder of Is This You? I'm also a business advisor and mentor at the Northeast BIC. Just been handed a microphone, so I'm guessing that I need to use this. I've got 30 years of experience in business. I've built 2 7-figure businesses. I've got 15 years of personal development, and collectively I've inspired hundreds of business owners, hopefully. I know that from the feedback we get, that we are having an impact, we are making a difference. I'm a podcast host on Is This You TV, which is a brand new TV channel that we launched this year. And I'm a mental health ambassador. Big shout out to James from Space Northeast and the Sunderland Football Club Foundation. And I'm also a dad to 2 amazing kids. So that's a bit about me. And I just wanted to start by just talking about the danger of business as usual in 2026. This isn't a year where we can just approach it as business as usual. I wrote an article about this in my newsletter on LinkedIn. Please subscribe. I'm going to do loads of plugs. And yeah, I wanted to go into why this is such a year of fundamental change. And we've got more economic pressures on us than we have before. We could see them coming in through 2025. And I think founders and business leaders of SMEs have a lot of stress. They have a lot of overwhelm. So how do we work with this? How do we combat this? How do we rise above it? And just to give you some stats to back this up, 56% of leaders reported burnout in the last year. 83% of founders reported experiencing high stress levels. 50% of SME leaders cite employer NI as a significant barrier to growth. 62% of SME leaders say business rates are a top 3 concern. So there's lots of economic pressures and stress, and I haven't even mentioned AI, and I'm about to. Got some great, these figures come from some great sources as well. These are not just random. There's a rapidly increasing AI disruption, and I'm sure you're feeling it. I'm sure you are in whatever business you have or whatever role you have. And there's a lot of concern, and there's a lot of, I suppose, misunderstanding and worry about what lies in the future. So the polls are showing us that 65% of SME leaders are concerned about AI, the impact of AI. 22% report losing clients due to AI, because what you're finding is clients are trying the DIY approach. AI can potentially do it for them. And when you've got all those economic pressures, then they're looking to save money wherever possible. So looking at AI as a potential solution, whether that solution works or not is another matter. But 22% of SME leaders report losing clients. 41% of SME leaders report downward price pressure, and you can understand why that's happening, because they're losing clients. There's more competition in the marketplace than ever before. Anyone can be an expert at anything because they just use AI with a few prompts. And we all know our inboxes are flooded now with competition from all over the world. Your clients are seeing competition from all over the world. And obviously the economic pressures are making them look at alternatives. And 26% of SME leaders expect to lose 10% plus of staff. So these are the downsides to AI. But I'm a massive fan of AI. We scaled our business using AI. And the opportunities for innovation and growth are incredible if you can take them, if you have a strategy and the right mindset to take them. And just showing you really how personal performance and business performance can really, really change the game. So it's building a new strategy in 2026. You can't just rely on business as usual, what's happened in the past, what worked in the past. The game has changed. And it hasn't changed for you. If it hasn't changed for you now, it will. So we need to equip ourselves with the tools for the future. And that, for me, is building a strategy. And the option you have is to survive or thrive. And I think we're looking to thrive through blending personal performance and business performance. So I want to take you back to when Is This You started with our wheel. The life and business wheel. So we started with a wheel of life. So basically what we're trying to do with the wheel of life is we're trying to holistically pull together all the elements of your life so that you're working in balance, because you can't perform at a high level in your business or in your corporate role if you're imbalanced in your life. And equally, we've used the wheel of life to analyze our business. So what this is it looks at where you want to be. So the number 10, the value 10 is where you want to be, where you aim to be, where you expect to be. And then what we can do is we can assess where we are now. And then when we assess where we are now, we can see where the gaps are. And when you know what the gaps are, you know what to actually put right. You know what you need to do to put the situation right. So it gives you awareness, and almost it gives you a forewarning of issues to come. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my journey. I've been using this wheel of life for many, many years. This isn't just an is this you thing, but we've used it as the foundation of the is this you methodology and framework. So in 2007, I was sitting pretty, I thought anyway. So I built a 7-figure property business. I was in Greece, I had my family there, I had an ice cold pint of Mythos, and I looked on the TV, and here's a run on the Northern Rock Bank. I didn't have a clue what that meant. I'd only thought the only way was up for me. Everything from coming from university to starting a business, everything turned to gold. So you can see on my wheel at 2007 out of 10, I was kind of on a 9 for career and finance. My social life was good, 8s and 9s. The rest of it, my health, my family relationships were fairly average. Personal growth, I hadn't even heard of it at that point, and I really needed to with what was to come. And attitude, I had a kind of attitude where everything I touch would work, everything I touch would turn to gold. Crikey, I got a shock. In 2008, I lost everything. So that Northern Rock run on the bank turned into the global financial crisis, turned into the credit crunch, or whatever your terms for it were. I lost everything. And I lost myself. I lost my identity. I lost my confidence. I was at a really, really low point. And I've written some really, in-depth articles about my journey, and there's some really funny things happened as well. I've got an article called The £1 Million Bacon Sandwich. I've got an article about when I was almost arrested for stealing Michael Jackson memorabilia from a house I was helping an old lady do up. So it was absolutely crazy time. I didn't know what I was doing, but I stuck in, and I started a journey of personal development. And once I started that journey, I started to be aware of what was happening. Be aware that, no one was coming to save me. I was responsible. I had to take the right action, but I also needed the right strategy. So what happened then was, from 2009 to 2021, you can see that I grew. It took 12 years, but I grew another 7-figure business. But I'd only focused on finance, really. I hadn't focused on the other elements of life. I just wanted to get back what I'd lost. And the time came when my son was due to be born, and I got a call from my partner, and I had spent the night in the warehouse covered in solar panels and Kentucky Fried Chicken boxes. And I just thought, I cannot go on like this, not with a growing family. This is my second child. So I made a decision. I was going to come out of that business and exit. It was a much better exit than the property one. So, and then that went along, ticking along okay. I was just going through the motions, but I was really enjoying being a father to two kids. But then the COVID crisis hit. 2020 was a real year for me, where I'm quite a social person, and I struggled so much being confined. But what also happened was, I think I had some traumatic stress from the crash in 2008, and all I could see was that coming back, because I'd built another property business. All I could see was that all happening again. This is going to happen again. That's how I felt. And I felt that the world was against me, that I was never going to come to anything, that I was going to fail and fail again. And I got to the point where I could hardly leave the house. I remember my 50th birthday when we were going to plan a party, but I couldn't go to a big party, so we just had a small gathering of friends in a restaurant, and I struggled to get there. So that was where I was in 2021, going into 22. And when we look at the wheel on the slides, we can see that in 2025, the massive growth that's happened there. And for 4 years, I grew personally, and I grew a business that I was amazed at the growth. So what changed? So it was vision, it was mission, it was mindset, strategy, having the right frameworks, doing the right planning, having the right focus. Having accountability was huge. Having a coach was huge. Having someone to bounce ideas off, someone on the outside looking in, and being part of a team. So this eventually ended up as this issue. I got together with friends and colleagues who I love working with, and we formed Is This You in 2024. And we had rapid growth from the back end of 24 throughout 2025. The rapid growth of Is This You was fundamentally based upon the lessons learned, and all of the coaches had gone through similar journeys. And you know, if you look into all of our materials, you see the journeys all of the coaches have been on. And what we did in 24 is we innovated, we embraced AI fully in our business, we invested in the future because we realized the game had changed and it was going to keep on changing. So, the game changer. We have developed Advantage OS. Now what this is an operating system for business and for life. It gives you control and focus and accountability. Awareness is key. If you're not aware of something and you haven't focused on it, you don't know when it's going wrong. You don't know how to get yourself out of a situation. We focus on performance and strategy and planning. Alert is huge for me. I need to be alerted to focus on the right thing, to do the right thing. And tracking of your progress is huge. This is where the wheel is so important, because I've got a wheel going back for a decade and I can see the progress I've made. I'm going to show you that now. But we're going to move from the models we were using in 25 to the models we're using now. And you can see here, we've got a personal dashboard. We've got a development plan. We've got goals, actions. We've got habits. We've got the wheel of life. Everything's being tracked, and the alerts are so key. So if you know you have to do certain things, you will be alerted. And that is key when you're trying to actually build a life and business at pace. So having a look at my wheel of life on the 1st of January 26, you can see it's grown again. I'm so happy with my growth, my personal growth. So I've marked myself as a 10 there. Now what happens when you do get to the 10, and I'll be doing this soon, is you review and refresh, and then I'll set new goals. So my numbers will drop, but I wanted to show you where I felt I was on the 1st of January. My health is better. It's not perfect, but it's better. Family and relationships are up there. Social life, but purpose is huge. I jump out of bed on a Monday morning with a mission. I know what I'm doing. I know what my vision is for life, and I'm so excited by it. And if you've got that, it gives you that mission, that purpose, and you can push through harder times if you've got that motivation and you've got that vision. Career and business and finance are doing pretty well as well, so I'm really happy with my wheel. Now, when you do this, you can see where the gaps are, and you can see if that wheel isn't rounded, you can see where the gaps are, and you're going to have bumps in the road. So it's an early warning system, and that's what the Advantage OS gives you. And you can compare years, you can compare quarters. I do this once a quarter. I do the business one once a month. So the business wheel, you can see how that works. You've got the business areas in your KPI tracking. So you're tracking marketing, sales, customer service, HR. Technology is a really big one. And we'll show you more of how all this fits together in a dashboard. So now it's your turn. We're going to start to build your strategy for rapid growth. What we can't do, obviously, is do the whole thing, but we're going to do an element of it. And I think it's an element of it that's really important. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to look at your 3-year vision, and we're going to give 5 minutes to doing your business and career. So if you can spend 5 minutes, just jot out what your vision is for your business and career over the next 3 years. And a tip on this is to do it like you couldn't fail. So it removes the barriers, so it opens the mind. If you jot down where you could be in 3 years, or where you want to be in 3 years, I'll leave you for 5 minutes and we'll come back and we'll see where you are and we'll move on to the next part. Hi guys, hope you're getting on all right with that. It's amazing when you start to write it down, isn't it? It gives you that sort of tingle. You start to see, is this possible? And really treat this like you can't fail, because that's what I did. So in 2021, I decided I was going to change. I'll just write while I talk. It's fine. Keep writing. You've got a few more minutes. But I decided I was going to change, and what I did was I looked at what I was good at. I looked at what my values were and what I loved doing and who I liked being with. And I just did this exercise, and I wrote out what I'd want to do as a business. What would be my perfect business? I wrote it out. And I've got to see it. It's not exactly right there, but it's not far off. It's getting there. It's the people I wanted to be with who I knew could do it. It's having impact and value. It's helping people, supporting people, and obviously building a life that I love. So give this some thought. And you're not going to fill it all in today, but take it away. Take it away and start to reflect on it and build on it. And we'll work on it, how you turn that 3-year vision into actual reality, into what you're going to do on Monday. We can turn that 3-year vision into what you're going to do next week. So I think we're just about there on the 5 minutes. Any insights, any thoughts, just pop them in the chat. We probably don't have time to actually respond, but we'd be interested to see what your insights are and what your thoughts are. And then when we do the next one, we'll know where we are. We can see you again. We can work on that. Or there'll be opportunities to come and speak to us live. There'll be opportunities to come on other sessions. Okay, so I hope you've managed to do that. And I hope you found it insightful. And I hope you found it inspiring. So back to the slides. We're going to now look at, okay, so how do we turn that 3-year vision into something tangible, more tangible? We're going to look at, if we look on the software, the next part is 12-month goals. So we're going to look at our 12-month goals. So what that is basically is, we know what we're trying to achieve longer term, 3 years. What do we need to get to? Where do we need to get to in 12 months to actually push us towards those 3-year goals? What are the key milestones and fundamentals that we need to achieve? So I'll give you another 5 minutes on that. Try to start to think about how you would get there. How you would get there. And it's only a third of the way, so you don't have to have the full answer. And even if it's just thoughts and ideas, jot them down that you could achieve in the next 12 months. Hi guys, hope you're getting on all right with that. So what we're looking for there is, use your imagination, inspiration. What can you possibly achieve in 2026 to get a third of the way to where you want to be? So hopefully you've got some ideas and some thoughts. Again, we're not expecting you to complete this today. It needs more time, it needs more thought, but it's a starting point. once you've got the starting point, you can then build on it and you'll go back to it. You don't get it right first time, if you like. You know, you build on it. But the key is to have the awareness of what you actually can achieve or what you can do. So what we'll do now is we've looked at 12-month goals, what we can possibly do in 12 months. Now we're going to break it down. We're going to get a little bit more granular into our actions that we're going to take to get there. So hopefully you're okay with that. You've got your 12-month goals. The next step is our 30-day actions. So what you've got there is we're going to look at the 12-month goals and look at what you can potentially do in the next 30 days. What can you do in the next 30 days to progress towards that goal that you're looking for in December 2026? Have a think about that. You can't fail. 30 days of massive action to see how far you can progress. I'll give you 5 minutes on that one as well. I hope you've got a list of actions there. I hope you're starting to think, okay, maybe I can get to where I want to be. Maybe if I do these actions, it will progress me forward. Now, it isn't about perfection. It isn't about hitting everything. Nobody hits all the goals they set out. But if we can make big progress, that's amazing. Progress we possibly wouldn't have made without that focus. And this is what the software does. It makes you aware that you've got to do this work, and it gives you that vision and it gives you that mission, and it's alerts when you want them to make sure you do that work. Because if you do that work and you put the small steps in, you'll eventually get top of the mountain, or whatever analogy you want to use. So from your 30-day actions, this one is what does it for me. This one is what moves the dial and really has gotten me to where I am now in a short space of time. Win the week. Now, this has come from Dave Baharrell, who is on our founder team. Shout out to Dave. I think he's watching. Dave was a Premier League footballer, and he played for, I forget the team. Oh, I think it was Newcastle. So he's a Premier League footballer for Newcastle. And his whole life was about winning that week, winning the game. So every week, the full focus was about the Saturday, what would happen at the end of the week. And by winning the week and winning the game, they progressed. And you hit your goals. And it's so key. So we've built an entire, I suppose it's an app, and we will release it as a standalone app eventually. But it's within the system, is our Win the Week module. And you can track your progress. You can track your streaks. We've gamified it a touch. We've got all the habits that you need to actually achieve to win this week. And I really would love you to try it. So try and win the week next week. So list 3 to 5 actions to win the week. Now, I work a lot with Phil, my partner and founder. He likes three actions. I like 5 actions. It just depends on the individual. That's what we've done with the platform. We've made it so it's bespoke, so you can tell it how you want to work, when do you want to be alerted, what your goals are, how many actions you want to take. You can tell it. So once you've done the analysis, you can build it all in, and it actually is an operating system for success. So 3 to 5 actions you can commit to next week, and you commit to them. And that is a game changer when you do that week on week on week. So I'll give you 5 minutes, 3 to 5 actions that you commit to next week. Hi guys. So yeah, I'm just having a laugh at some of the comments that are coming in there. I knew that the Newcastle Sunderland football would get some comments going. So I've actually been to Milan, so you know I've been there. So brilliant. So what we're looking for here, out of the actions that you've written, is what's going to move the dial for you, what's going to really change things, and give them maximum focus, because we're all super busy, we're all overwhelmed. There's so much going on in our lives, but we've got to focus, and you've got to actually put time aside to focus and win the week. Planning, prioritization is huge, but focus on those items and have accountability on those items, and you will progress. You will move forward. It's a guarantee if you do them. It's a guarantee. The only thing that isn't guaranteed is whether you do the work. And that's what the software does. It ensures that you are doing the work, and it tells you if you're not doing the work. And we do have accountability structures built in, but the best accountability is human. So part of our programs is we have accountability groups. So while we're on the subject of Sunderland and Newcastle, the best accountability I've ever had, I was struggling in 2025 to lose a bit of weight. And I wanted to lose a stone, and it wasn't happening. I wasn't motivated, and I couldn't do it. I must say, this was in 25. We've had Christmas since, so yeah, there's a bit going on. But in 2025, I said, this is not working. My weight loss isn't working. And I said to our accountability group, what can I do to actually lose this weight? And some bright spark, I think you might be sitting just there, said, if you don't lose the weight, you have to wear a Newcastle shirt on LinkedIn. And I took the bet, I took the challenge. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't half lose that weight. I absolutely smashed it. Way past the stone. I got about a stone and a half off. It was the best motivation I've had. Well, that's like an extreme side, but be accountable. Tell people what you're going to do. Have a group and work on what you're going to do, and come and join us, obviously. We have accountability built in everything I do, everything we do. So we'll go back to the slides, and we've got our actions. We're going to win the week. Please do that. Try it. Just try it for a week, and then let us know. Get in touch. Drop us an email. I'm on LinkedIn. Hopefully you know where I am. Tell us your results. And when you've done it 1 week, do it the next and the next and the next. Before you know it, you are making huge progress. And on the software, on our Advantage software, you can set your own alert profile, and you can take massive action and change the game. So different people want different things. I want an alert every morning, first thing, to get me on track. I don't want my mind wandering into things that, aren't part of my focus. Maybe wandering into negative things. I don't want that. I want to be kept on the straight and narrow. So I program in the alert first thing on the morning, so I know what I've got to do to make that massive progress. And that has resulted in massive progress. And another key part of a strategy for rapid growth is reviewing. So you've got to reflect and review. If you want to continuously improve, you've got to know what's working and what's not working. And my best tip on this is to schedule time away from your day-to-day. Wherever that might be. It might even just be coming on workshops like this, because it takes you out of the day-to-day and makes you do the work. And you'll have seen, I've sent lots of emails reminding you guys to come on. And part of it is you don't win with busyness. You don't. You win with strategic planning and execution. That's how you win, and you can't do that in your day-to-day, and that's that old working in your business or on your business. So building in time for strategy is key. Into your schedule, build it in. So the next step is, as you're proceeding down the line, as you're actually getting through that win the week, and you're doing the actions, you're going to hit obstacles. Nothing ever happens smoothly. Nothing ever happens as you'd wish. And to be honest with you, it would be pretty boring if it did, because the challenge helps us grow, and the challenge helps us learn new things, and the challenge helps us develop our resilience. So there's massive advantages to challenge. But what we're going to look at is our obstacle unblocker. So we're just going to look at one obstacle. So I want you to take 5 minutes. I'll talk you through it. But what's your biggest obstacle right now? What would you like to get sorted right now? So if we look at the screen, we're looking at one obstacle that's causing you issues. What I would like you to do is, if you couldn't fail, what 3 actions could you take to improve it? Improve the situation. We're not saying to actually bust through the obstacle. What we're saying is to improve the situation. So write down, what is your biggest obstacle that's causing you problems right now? And let's have 3 actions you can take to improve the situation. So I'll give you a few minutes on that. Okay guys, how you doing? So 3 actions that are really going to improve the situation. If you couldn't fail, what would you do? What would you do to try and overcome this obstacle? I hope you're finding out that there are some things to do to improve the situation. You don't have to look at it as a whole. How to beat this problem, how to overcome this obstacle. Chunk it down into little pieces. I was watching somebody the other day, some coach, and he said, take the iceberg and chunk it down in ice cubes. If you can just chunk it down and take steps, you start to take control. So mentally, that you're in control, you've taken control back, and you start to make progress. So if you've got the 3 actions, what else you can do is you can speak to people with the experience of whatever it is you're going through. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. Who can you speak to with experience of your situation? I'll give you a couple of minutes on that. Hopefully you've got that down. So we've got 3 actions that can move the dial on this situation, that can improve the situation, and maybe 1 or 2 people you can speak to. So out of the analysis that you've just done, what action are you going to take next week? And put it into your win the week. Take the action. So choose one of them and take the action. I guarantee it will improve your feeling about the situation, and it will improve the likelihood of you finding a solution. 100%. Okay. I'll give you a minute on that. Hopefully you're starting to get some insight. I'd love it. I'd love it if you could put in the comments any real insight you've had off that, or if you've found a solution, or if you've got a step forward. I'd love to know what that is. So please pop it in the chat. So I do hope that's been useful, and it's just a very small element of what we do. So what I want to also show you is I want to show you the the business module. So rapid growth for your team. Rapid growth for your team. Rapid growth for your company. If you're a founder, rapid growth for your business. But this the system we've developed can work with multiple different people. So what you can see is the team or organization dashboard. And what you can do is you can assign the KPIs. You can have actions, you can have goals, you can have habits, and we've got a full development plan for everyone in the team. Now, the really important thing about this is confidentiality. So we can talk to you and your team about what is confidential and what's not. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to see all of the ins and outs. What you need to see as a team leader or a business leader is performance. And this dashboard gives you the full performance of your team. So you can see what's been achieved. You can see what the KPIs are like. You can see
What are the habit situations? You can see the wheel of life, because what you want as a team leader or a business owner is you want a happy, motivated team. How can you tell? Well, this system will give the alerts and the options for you to actually know what's happening. We've even got personality profiling in, so you can actually get an idea of how to help that person a little bit more. So there's so much in here, I kind of go through it all, but that's just an example of the team and the organisation dashboard. So as you can see, we've invested heavily in Advantage OS because we know it works. We know this works. This is based upon everything we've been through in our careers, in our multiple businesses, but especially in the last couple of years when we've pulled together, is this you? And it will work for you. So I want to tell you what my personal goals have been in 25. This isn't to sort of say, yeah, look at me or anything like that. This is about what's possible. And for me, number one is I've got the highest ever scores in 15 years on that wheel of life, and it's balanced pretty much. There's some areas where there's gaps I need to work on. I've spoken live in front of around 1,000 leaders. I've become known and trusted in the Northeast as a business and personal development coach. I've secured a TEDx talk for 2026. I've invested in and become a non-exec director in Howell Studios. This place is amazing. The minute I saw this, I thought, this is the way forward. And we'll hear from Izzy, who's director of Howell, to tell you about it and tell you the importance of branding, the importance of getting your message out there. It's an increasingly noisy marketplace. How do we stand out? This is certainly one way. I'm a regular excuse me, I had to slip it one time, didn't I? It is live. I'm a regular podcast host and guest. I've hit my lowest weight in 4 years. That was pre-Christmas. Nobody's weighing in at the minute. I've hugely expanded my network. My network's never been bigger or stronger. And I'm an ambassador for 2 mental health charities. I've helped so many people achieve their goals. And the feeling from that, the purpose that gives you, the motivation that gives you is enormous. And you know what? I've had loads of fun as well, because we built a business and we've built lives where we can have fun in the business as well. It won't be perfect, nothing is, but we can have fun. We set the business up like that. We designed it. So that has been a massive game changer. 2025 is a massive game changer for me. And we've all been the same. All of the founders and a lot of the people who have coached have had massive results. So back to the slides, I'll just show you some of the business results. So that's our founder team, but I showed you earlier the range of people and expertise and professions and sectors who we've got in the wider team. But we've coached and mentored founders and leaders internationally. We've got contracts with global companies. We've been recognised by the Chartered Management Institute for our frameworks and our modules. We've got 30 plus academy members building businesses, and you saw them at the start. We've developed Advantage OS, which is huge. And that's to add rocket fuel to our results, but also to our clients' results. We've co-founded Apex, which is our networking business, with Julie and Claire from The Collective. And that launches next week on the 21st at CM Hall. It's sold out, by the way, so there isn't any seats left. We've launched Is This You TV, which is a project that I absolutely love. And Phil Gray, who's coming on next, was nominated Business Titan in 2025. Now, we'll try to be a business titan. We'll try to give him the gold shorts and the trident and all that. But he wasn't having it. But he'll come on later and explain to you about mindset, because Phil is a mindset master. But together we've had loads of fun. And that's what we've built. And we've built it from design. We've built it with purpose. We've looked at what we're good at, what we're not so good at, and we've trained up on what we're not so good at. We've looked at it with a vision, and we've looked at it with our eyes open as to what can happen in our experience. And this is working for our clients. There's some lovely quotes there. Again, the strategy to secure investment in a new business from Izzy, who you'll see today. We would not have been able to invest in this business if we hadn't seen it, if we weren't part of the academy. Claire says doing it on your own is hard. She's now got the tools and a fantastic brand behind me. I built 2 7-figure businesses, and yeah, I had partners, but it wasn't a team. It's really hard to do it on your own. Really excited to be working with a smart group of people. I've developed a very exciting business opportunity with this issue. I wasn't maximising potential. I joined and the opportunities have been amazing. So what we've got is we've got a collective, all bringing opportunities in, all seeing, you know, who's the best fit, who could develop with that opportunity. So this quote is Phil's quote. Everyone knows that when this quote comes on, Phil comes on the screen. So I'd just like to, we're going to do a changeover, and I'd like to welcome Phil on the screen.
Right, guys, thanks very much. I get wheeled out when the energy needs to be lifted because John's obviously, you know, sort of lacks a bit of energy here and there. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Absolutely love this quote. And I think it's powerful because it's not just what you see at face value. It's very much about belief and about what you believe. And we're gonna explore the significance of that in the next few slides. So, me, just, you know, why didn't I come on here and tell you about this? As John said, I'm a co-founder of This Is You. I've had 30 years experience in business, and 15 of that being through personal development, working with hundreds of business owners, from like global leaders to people setting up on their own and the various things that they go through. I've performed as an athlete at quite a high standard in long distance triathlon, which is an event that you really find out about yourself. You really go through a lot, and it's sort of like one race can be a whole analogy for life, really, and the ups and downs and everything you go for and what you got to explore. So you really do get to see sort of like how your mind can affect you and your performance, and it's right there in front of you when you're doing that. I've coached people from Premier League footballers to the global CEOs in elite mindset. How are you going to get the most out of your performance right here and right now? And actually in all of that, you know, my 3 kids, that's sort of like my sort of like me really proud thing as to how I've managed to get some sort of like kids that actually have a level of emotional intelligence and sort of and sort of like are just such rounded human beings. So that's, you know, quite a fantastic thing for me. Right, one of the things that you'll hear me if you ever talk to us, you'll have heard us say awareness, awareness, awareness. It's something you'll hear us say a lot throughout this talk. Having an awareness of where your mind is and where your mindset is very much key to anything that you're going to get in your performance. So what we're going to talk about now is me giving you some idea, it's a very surface level idea, of how your mind works, and you just having that awareness of that through this talk will help you as you move forward. And one of the key models that I really love, and I love it because of its simplicity, is a book called The Chimp Paradox. We'll get onto that, but the significance of this awareness and knowing your mindset is just instilled by Richard Branson here that I've got on here. That's somebody who's pretty successful, and he identifies the fact in your success, your mindset is the single most important factor. So jumping onto The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters. If you aren't aware of this and you haven't read the book, I can really recommend that you get it. Audio book can be a little bit, it can take a bit of getting into, but honestly, it's absolutely fantastic. And the reason I like it is its simplicity. And Professor Peters breaks down the different bits of your brain and gives it 3 titles that I think resonate really well with people. And your emotional part of your brain that acts impulsively and is driven by emotion and feelings, he calls the chimp. This is a really powerful, quick acting part of your brain. And I'll give you an example. If I was to say to you now, you're stood in a big long queue, someone jumps in front of you, how do you feel about that? Well, that's your chimp that flares up. Anything that gives like rise to passion, emotion, feeling, that's your chimp part of your brain. It's an incredibly powerful part of your brain. And then the other part of your brain, your frontal cortex, is the human. This is the rational part that makes logical decisions, uses reason. This is who you actually are. In the equilibrium, all things being equal, if you were to write down, this is what I think someone should be, this is how I think, how I should respond, that's your human part of your brain. And that's the bit that you would do if past experiences and emotion didn't get in the way. And then you have the part of your brain he calls a computer. This is your operating system, your autopilot. It's made up of habits and built through past experiences. You've got some really deep programs. If you know from being a kid, growing up, all the way through, you've got really embedded programs in there. Some you can influence and affect, some you can't, and it's really, as coaches with us, we have a certain level that we would dig into. Some of them programs that might be more even deeper embedded, then that can sometimes go beyond our sort of realms and would signpost you somewhere else to someone who might be able to help you with some of that programming. But what we definitely can affect, and you can affect here, are more of the autopilot and habit elements of the computer. And we do have, in our operating system, we look at the habit loop and how you can change. You have a trigger that leads to an action that leads to a reward, and how you can influence that and get in the way and sort of change some of them to get the outcomes you want. And so you can reprogram bad habits or habits that don't work productively for you and create new ones that do work in lines with those goals and visions that we've set out earlier. Now, once you have an awareness of those 3 areas, and like I say, I like it because you can in a moment you can go there, you can picture a chimp. It's easy. If I was to sort of turn around and say, oh, it's your limbic system triggering X, Y, Z. It's not so easy. It just recognize it and pick it out. When you've got that thing of, oh, my chimp's playing up, then it's a lot easier. And if you want to say, well, I want to be talking in a certain way, I want my human to come to light, and then how can I program a computer? So it's a nice way of understanding how your system and how your mind works. And when you've got that picture, an image of those, the key is to understand the interplay between them. And what I mean by that is, if you're say you're going into a meeting, whether it be a business meeting, it could be the fact that in a relationship you're having a discussion that's sort of that's challenging, that you want to talk about. Or what you don't want is, you don't want a situation where 2 chimps are talking to each other. Because if you've got 2 chimps talking to each other, that ain't going to end well. That's just going to be flare up, and so you want to be going into a conversation that's an important conversation as a human. You need to switch on your rational, logical part of your human. So you set an intention of what you're looking for here, and be the human. Recognize, have an awareness of when your chimp might get triggered, and then think, right, what am I going to have in place to make the chimp sit down? How am I going to make sure that this chimp doesn't come to the surface and become my key part of my brain leading this conversation? But also, having this awareness lets you recognize when you're talking to someone else's chimp. When is someone else being triggered? When is their emotions flaring up? Are you now talking to someone's chimp, or are you talking to the human? And what you want to try and do is see how you can guide a situation and what you can do in your conversation to get to be talking to the human. Now, that's if it's a challenging one. Sometimes it's really good to have that emotion and passion and energy that comes from a chimp. So we'll be hearing later, we'll be hearing about sales. You don't want to be selling to a human, because it ain't going to work. Because you've got to have a desire. You've got to have something that wants, somebody has to want something. So if you're going to sell to somebody, you want to be talking to the chimp. So how are you going to trigger that chimp? So you start to understand the fact that knowing these things, depending on your conversation, it's who do I want to be talking to and how do I have the ability to trigger these different areas. And then there's other parts when we're talking about the computer that John mentioned earlier about his challenge. I definitely triggered his chimp, by the way, getting him to go on the Newcastle shirt. But when you're looking at someone wanting to see, like, whether it be like sort of fitness or just turning up, when it comes to people turning up day in, day out and bringing energy, how are you living your life? What are your habits? Are you drinking water? Are you eating the right things? Are you getting sleep? Are you prioritizing some recovery? Are you making sure that you get rest? And so that's where you can start to form habits that, again, make you turn up day in, day out, performing at a higher level. And if you try and do them without programming that computer, you're just trying to have actions that eventually are using willpower that will eventually wear out. That's exhaustible. It'll get to a certain level. What you need to do is get into your operating system and program your habits. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the significance of an awareness of these parts of your brain. And this leads us on to another sort of area that can help massively with performance, which is visualization. Now, I'm not talking about manifestation here, where you think about something and it will arrive. We're talking about actually visualizing what you want to do to achieve your goals. How are you going to achieve the goals? What process are you going to go through to achieve your goals? So if we look at those things that you just set out earlier, what are you going to do? What variables might come at you? What might you have to face? What challenges might you face? What might come up that tries to derail you from achieving those goals? Picture it. What's your process? How are you going to, the process you're going to go through to succeed, to actually achieve hitting them, and see it and work through it. We're going to see something in some of the latter slides as to just how your body actually responds to visualization, to seeing things. So if you actually if you visualize achieving them, then your body's going to prep for the fact that you're going to be there. And a story I love that that sort of embeds the power of visualization is Michael Phelps. And Michael Phelps in the 2008 Beijing Olympics was on the starting block for the butterfly finals, and he was going to break the world record for the most number of gold medals. The pressure was on him. The entire world was looking at him. And when he dived in, when the gun went off and he dived in, his goggles flipped and filled with water. Now, if we go back to the chimp and you think of the emotions and you think what would go through there, if you dived in and that happened, bang, that emotional chimp flares up. I can't believe this. Everyone's looking at us. What's going to... But no, through visualization, that chimp was aware of the fact that these things might happen, and so it didn't sort of come to the forefront. He executed, how many strokes am I going to do I need to do before I get to the wall? How do I execute my turn? Come back. And the result, he won the race, he got the gold medal, got the world record, and in an interview afterwards, reporter said, what did it feel like when your goggles filled with water? You must have been... And his response was, it felt exactly like I thought it would. He'd gone through what could go wrong. He'd visualised what could go wrong. And so when it happened, he was prepared for it. So if you think about on you achieving those goals, if you are aware of the things that could go wrong, you're ready for them. And you can respond in a way that you want to respond to them. Now, I just touched on there about the fact that how your body responds to thoughts. Now, you have hundreds of thousands of thoughts per day, and your body actually responds to a thought that you give attention to in the same way it would as it was actually real. Now think about that. If some of the thoughts that you will have, think about today, this week, the thoughts that you've had, and your body is responding to them as if it actually happened. And I'm sure this will all resonate with everyone. You'd never thought it's like a little stone at the top of a mountain. It starts rolling, and it starts picking up the snow, and it gets into a bigger snowball, and it gets bigger and bigger. And you can start having a thought about a discussion with someone, and before you know it, you're having a full-blown argument. And it's just a few minutes in, you're having an argument, and this is something that's never happened, and it's never going to happen. But it's not a great place to be in, and it's not having a great your body's not having a great response to that. And it's different people will attribute this to either Twain or Churchill. And there's a saying that in life I've had thousands of problems. Some of them even happened. And it's this point that you can think of so many things that are going to go wrong, so many problems that you're going to have. But actually the vast majority of them don't actually happen. So where do you want to operate in? If you want to operate at the highest performance standards and you want to show up day in, day out, inspiring people, motivating people, and getting the most out of your life, what thoughts do you want to be having? It's really something you need to spend a bit of time thinking about that. Now, based on this fact of how much your body responds to your thoughts, we're going to have a quick clip here that is by a psychologist, Kirsty McGonigal. And I'm sure everyone here will have been affected by stress and feel stress. And this is quite an insightful thing that might change your thoughts about how you frame stress.
Question is this: I'm a health psychologist, and my mission is to help people be happier and healthier. But I fear that something I've been teaching for the last 10 years is doing more harm than good, and it has to do with stress. For years, I've been telling people stress makes you sick. It increases the risk of everything from the common cold to cardiovascular disease. Basically, I've turned stress into the enemy. But I've changed my mind about stress. And today, I want to change yours. Let me start with the study that made me rethink my whole approach to stress. This study tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? And then they used public death records to find out who died. Okay, some bad news first. People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful were no more likely to die. In fact, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study, including people who had relatively little stress. Now, the researchers estimated that over the 8 years they were tracking deaths, 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress, but from the belief that stress is bad for you. Over 20,000 deaths a year. Now, if that estimate is correct, that would make believing stress is bad for you the 15th largest cause of death in the United States last year, killing more people than skin cancer, HIV, AIDS, and homicide. Now, I wouldn't necessarily ask for more stressful experiences in my life, but this science has given me a whole new appreciation for stress. Stress gives us access to our hearts. The compassionate heart that finds joy and meaning in connecting with others. And yes, your pounding physical heart working so hard to give you strength and energy. And when you choose to view stress in this way, you're not just getting better at stress, you're actually making a pretty profound statement. You're saying that you can trust yourself to handle life's challenges, and you're remembering that you don't have to face them alone. Thank you. Thank you.
There was a key moment in my life when I sort of like that really sunk in. And I used to, when I was younger, I used to really suffer from a lot of sort of like anxiety around sport and performing at sport. I used to get nerves really, really badly. And to the point it completely spoiled us doing it, and I just didn't want to take part anymore. And then when I was sort of performing and racing, there was an event. I remember I was stood sort of on the beach in Lanzarote, sun was rising, and we're about to start this race, and you know you're jumping in the sea, you're swimming 2.5 miles. You then got a cycle that was really, really windy, and there's loads of mountains, and you had to cycle 112 miles, and then you get off that and you run a marathon in the heat in Lanzarote. And I was looking around the beach and I was seeing all these people's faces, stern, nervous, anxious. And when I looked, I just thought, this is great. And it came back to me, the fact that when you're feeling like this, you're about to do something significant. You're about to do something that means a lot to you. It's important. Your body's preparing you for the fact that you're about to do something that's important to you. And if it's important to you, then it's great. It's so you're about to do something brilliant. And it completely changed how I see that anxiety. It turned into something that was give us energy and excited us. So if you can reframe sort of how you feel, and your body's preparing you for something significant, something that means something, it's a great way to try and review how you look at stress. So another area to be aware of in your mind is that of a fixed and a growth mindset. Now, people with challenges will often have a fixed mindset that believe this is just who I am. This is I'm born this way. This is just, you know, this is the person I am. This is me. Now, when you feel like that, you avoid challenges because you don't want to expose yourself to think, well, if you don't make it, then this is you. You're not able to make it. You might give up easier because it's like, oh, well, I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not able to do that. And when you get feedback, you take it on board really, really heavily because you don't see the fact that you can change. It's somebody being critical of you and who you are and who you will always be. And you see other people's success and you think, well, I can't be that because this is where I am and I'm not that now, so therefore I can't be. Now, you can change your mindset. There's a concept called neuroplasticity that's been proved, the fact that you can change your brain. You can physically change the structure of your brain and all the pathways and neurons as to how they connect. And by viewing the fact that it is possible to change your brain, it is possible to create new pathways, then you're going to learn. So if you can't do something, you can't do it yet. You can learn to do it. So when you see challenges, they're opportunities. It's an opportunity for you to push your comfort zone and see what you can achieve. When you've got obstacles, they're just obstacles in the way that you can get around, and you can learn how to do it. And when people give you feedback or criticism, what it is it's saying, well, this is what you've done wrong in the past. What we need to do now is this. And so it's teaching you. It's actually teaching. This is what I'm going to do. We're doing this. We're really excited by it. There's going to be things that we can improve on. And then, hearing that lets us learn, right? This is what we'll do next time. And failures, everyone listening to this will have things that's gone on in their life, whether it's personal part of your life, whether it's business, whether it's your career, jobs. There'll be areas that you view as a failure. Now, the past doesn't equal the future. You can influence that, you can make changes, and you can adapt. So those failures are lessons. It's teaching you what you need to do and how you can avoid certain situations and change them and do something differently in order to achieve success. So a growth mindset is critical to you moving forward and performing at your best. And remember what we said about the fact that you think something and your body responds to it. You think that you can't develop and can't improve, then your body's going to shut it down, and that's the way you are. you see that you can grow and you can move forward, then that's how your body's going to respond. Here's something that you all know Roger Federer, and let's see what he has to say.
Perfection is impossible. In the 1,526 singles matches, I won almost 80% of those matches. Now, what percentage of points do you think I won in those matches? Only 54%. In other words, even top-ranked tennis players win barely more than half of the points they play. When you're playing a point, it has to be the most important thing in the world, and it is. But when it's behind you, it's behind you. This mindset is really crucial because it frees you to fully commit to the next point and the next point after that. You want to become a master at overcoming hard moments. That is, to me, the sign of a champion. The best in the world are not the best because they win every point. It's because they know they'll lose again and again and have learned how to deal with it.
So in that is if you lost a point and you thought, well, that's me, I'm not good enough, my backhand's not good enough, then you're going to get stuck there. But if you know, right, that one wasn't, but actually I'm going to tweak it with, or this particular opponent knows how to react that, I'm going to tweak it. So you're constantly recognising the fact that you can grow and you can develop. Now, we've talked about our operating system. There's certain areas that a lot of people have challenges with: imposter syndrome, the inner critic, that voice in your head that's telling you you're not good enough. Why did you do that? Well, what an idiot. Why did I do it this way? And a key thing, a takeaway that I can give you, if ever you're getting that imposter syndrome or ever you're getting the inner critic, think about that voice that you hear, change it and think, right, how would I speak to my best friend? In this situation, recognise, and use that word, awareness, being aware of the fact that this inner talk's going on, and think, how would I talk to my best friend? What advice would I give my best friend in this moment? How would I speak to them? Now, in a point of imposter syndrome where you think, I don't belong here, I'm not here, would you say to your best friend, yeah, of course you don't, you're winging it? Or would it be, think about all the things that you've done, think about what you've achieved, think about what you've gone through in life, the lessons you've learned, the effort you've put in. Of course you belong to be here. And I'm not good enough. It's like, well, you're learning, you're growing, you've got that growth mindset, you're honing your skills. So yes, you are. And actually, no one else in the room is either, and they're all thinking the same thing. So actually recognise that, be aware of that. The fact that, imposter syndrome is something everyone talks about. So when you're stood there thinking everybody else has got it sus, no, they haven't. They're thinking exactly the same thing. So that's an area that in the platform, those things we're seeing, your achievements, your successes, make lists of them. Sort of with confidence, people lacking confidence. List those achievements and the big wins. Look for opportunities, just little opportunities where you can build your confidence, and then enlist it. And I displayed it there. And just start small, little steps, but display a bit of confidence. Do something that makes you, and it's going to grow. And it's going to grow. You're going to get more of those wins, more of those achievements. Your list's going to grow. And when you are doubting, look at that list, read it. Just have a little check-in, which also leads on to the fact of a gratitude list, a gratitude journal. That's something that is absolutely fantastic. And one of the key reasons as to why it works is we talked about neuroplasticity of moving, of shifting your brain and the creating new pathways. What you see, what you've put your awareness on, is what you're going to see. And we've all got a negative bias. We all have this part of your brain that's, it was designed to keep us alive. Back in the day, we were living in caves. Now, we don't have as many threats nowadays, but we still have that part of the brain that's tuned to keep us protected, keep us safe, see all the negatives. But the more you focus on, the more you see. So you keep seeing the negatives. What we need to do is build that gratitude of the positive things, and it builds your skill and it trains your brain to look for positives, look for the nice stuff, look for the good stuff, because it's there that you start to shift your behaviours and your patterns, and your body responds to the fact you're seeing more good things. And it's been proven, it's been scientifically proven, that the more you look for the good stuff, the more you start to see it, and the more you start to live in that area. And if we think about it, and we think about what I said earlier on about how your body responds to your thoughts, where do you want to exist? Do you want to exist in thoughts of doom, gloom and negativity? Or do you want to exist in an area that's driven, that's positive, that's achieving? So list all of those things, see that, and frame yourself in as that person, living in that environment and delivering that way. And it's a much, much nicer place to be, and a much more effective place to be. So I'm going to hand back over to John and the other guys. I hope you found that insightful, and thanks for listening to my bit on mindset.
Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed that. What Phil was talking about changed my life. That whole process of changing your mindset. If you remember back to my story, in 2020, 21, I couldn't leave the house. Now I'm doing TED Talks and all sorts of stuff. And that has been done through purposefully working on my mindset, purposefully not allowing myself to exist in this area of negativity, purposefully retraining my brain to be positive, to look at what I can do, what I can achieve, and to work on it every day through Win the Week. So that the mindset is absolutely key, and that is what the platform can do for you. It can change your mindset. So going back to the chimp, it turns the chimp and this emotional response to everything into the computer, where it's almost automatic by repetition. So now if I have a negative thought, I'm not perfect, but generally I'll go straight into positive mindset. And it's not positivity for no reason. It's positivity backed upon what I've achieved, my confidence list, my achievements, that kind of thing. I'll automatically go back to that. And if you're struggling in the platform, in the modules, you can be reminded of that on a regular basis, so you can get those alerts. So if you're really struggling with negativity, or you're struggling with being positive, then every morning when you wake up, Phil talked about the negative bias. Every morning that you wake up, you might be thinking negatively. So if you've got an alert every morning at a certain time when you wake up, showing you how amazing your achievements have been, showing you what you're going to do to win the week, showing you where you can be in 3 years' time, showing you where you can be in 12 months' time, it changes your focus. And what you focus on grows. And when you focus on the positive, what you can do, you take control, but it also changes the brain. That neuroplasticity Phil was talking about, it actually embeds positivity, but not positivity for no reason. Positivity because you're taking action, you're taking control of your life. You're not being dictated to. You are in control. And we want to do that personally, but we want to do that in our businesses also. We don't want to just be reactive in our businesses. We don't want to just take the hand that's dealt us, because often bad things happen. We want to have a strategy and a plan to grow, to perform better. So just if we go back to slides there. So we ran a LinkedIn poll in December, and we wanted to know from the leaders and founders who are in our network, what do you need in business to change the game in 2026? And the results were interesting. So 34% of you wanted better sales results, 23% work-life balance, 23% improved brand and network, 20% want a more focused strategy. Now, everyone there is, or 34% of the people there, the majority, are focusing on the outcome. I would reverse engineer that. So I would reverse engineer it like this. The first step would be the vision, the balance, and the mindset to actually get you where you want to be, because we are in challenging times, as we discussed. So you need to have that growth mindset
Because if you've got a fixed mindset, businesses like it always was, you are going to fall behind, undoubtedly. Things are moving so fast. You need that growth mindset. You need to take a step back, take a step out of busyness and what you do every day and work on your vision, your balance, your mindset. Once you've got that, implement the strategy. Develop the strategy. Once you've developed it, then we can look at the other elements, because you've got a better strategy and you're in a better place personally to actually execute. You can execute that strategy much better. And so the three other areas that we're going to cover today are brand and network, obviously, and connection. We're going to talk marketing, lead generation, and we're going to talk sales results. Sales results was the top issue that would move the dial for everyone in 2026, but you need the other elements in order to get those sales results. So we covered vision, balance, and mindset to a certain degree. We can obviously help you with that further. We've covered strategy and how you could build a strategy. We'll cover that. We can cover that further. And now we're going to talk brand and network. And we're going to talk to Izzy Howell, who is director of this amazing Howell Studios. She's head of production at Howell Media. She's an amazing content creation expert and an award-winning entrepreneur. And she's part of the Is This You Academy. So everyone you see today is part of the Academy. This is where we share opportunities. This is where we help each other. This is where we keep accountable. This is where we build lives and businesses we love together, because it's so much easier when you do it together. So I'd like to welcome Izzy onto the stage.
Hello everybody on the other side. It's amazing to be in this, obviously, this massive room that we're in right now in the studio, and it's fantastic to be even considered to be on this stage with some incredible speakers who seem way more experienced than I do. But here I am, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about branding. And to be honest, when I was thinking about talking about branding, I wasn't sure whether to go down the route of talking about this is why you need a logo, this is why you need colours, this is why you need this. But instead, I thought I'm going to stick with what I know best, and that's about your brand visibility through your content creation. So your brand itself really does benefit from having something that really makes you stand out. And that isn't always just having a nice logo or just having a nice sort of, website, whatever it may be. What it does, it's about you. It's about you being in the forefront and you being visible to your audience. And obviously I'm very visible to the Is This You audience right now, which is great. But it's essential that in your own business, you strategize to include yourself in it, to include yourself in front of the camera. So when I work with people, when I'm doing content creation training, or we work with people in Howell Media, where I'm actually doing the promotional content, it often involves me begging people to be on camera. It involves me telling people, you've got to just stand there and smile and talk about what you're passionate about. Talk about the thing that you love to talk about, which is your business and your brand. But the first thing I get is, I couldn't possibly put myself on camera. I couldn't possibly be visible to everybody. I'm not good enough to do this. And all these excuses come to the fore. And that's often down to fear. It's down to the fear of what if, all the what ifs that we've talked about in the past. What if people see me and me being passionate and being myself and being authentic and go, I don't like that person. And that's the number one fear we have, is that because people buy from people, and the fear comes from, well, what if this, what if that, what if they don't like how I look or sound, and it all becomes very inward. But when you're building a personal brand, what is essential is to understand that your personal brand and who you are and how you stand out and those little quirks about yourself is what your audience buy into. It's what they really want to see. And that is where branding is the most powerful. Because at Howell Studios and Howell Media, we kind of came into this with a bit of a splash. We thought, right, let's go for the boldest colours, the nicest logos we could get, all of this stuff, all of the amazing cameras, all this technology. But the thing people really did buy was me. And it was Chris, who is off camera pressing all the buttons, but he's doing his best, which is great. But it's us that people bought into. And it makes me sound, in my head right now, I'm thinking, well, I just seem really big-headed saying that. Everybody thinks, oh, you know, isn't he amazing, whatever. But at the end of the day, that is what makes us the sales. And it was that understanding that actually it was us as people, that people were buying. That made everything else seem a lot easier. So in Is This You and in the Is This You Academy, and through knowing John and Phil and everybody attached to this business, has taught me know, like, and trust. And that know, like, and trust bridge between your audience and yourself is absolutely essential. So I'd always, before I'd met John and Phil and everybody else, I'd always kind of given it a different term. I was there going, right, well, it's the connection, it's the emotional connection. But the term know, like, and trust is effectively where your video content comes in. It's effectively where you, as a person representing your brand, really stands out. So when you're thinking about ways to get yourself out there, often you think, right, I'm gonna do a video, I'm gonna take a selfie, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be really confident about it. And you rile yourself up and you get your camera ready and you do it. But then you're exhausted afterwards because the amount of effort that you've put in to make that one bit of content is quite tiring. It takes a lot more effort than people expect. And then you sort of talk yourself out of it, and then suddenly the emotional human comes in and goes, oh, actually, I'm not too sure about this. Your chimp starts to play off. All this stuff happens that stops you from actually wanting to do it. But on the other side, your audience is wanting to see you. They're wanting to learn about what you have to offer. And that is absolutely crucial. So when you think about social media, when you think about an online visibility across all kinds of platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the list goes on, we think, right, well, I have to be across all of those all the time. That's exhausting. That's a lot of work. But in every single platform, there's so many ways to reach your audiences. There's so many ways to communicate with them. And putting you at the forefront makes such a huge difference. So if you have, I assume people who are watching this know Daniel Priestley, know about everything that the Lord Priestley has to offer. And particularly in the Northeast, because I know he's done a lot of speaking here. And there's something that he said recently that really, really resonated, and that is the 7-11-4 rule. And that did influence a lot of the stuff that we've done at Howell Media and a lot of the stuff that we've done at Howell Studios, because 7-11-4 effectively means 7 hours, 11 touch points across 4 platforms. So by that, I mean 7 hours of content of you. Down there, over there, 7 hours of you appearing, talking about your brand, talking about what you're passionate about, being a real human being, and talking about 11 different touch points, 11 different things that makes your audience go, oh, I need to think about that, or oh, that's exactly what I needed. 11 different things across 4 platforms, whether that's YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, LinkedIn. So many different platforms to choose from. But that really does give you a starting point. And it gives you an understanding as to how much content of yourself and your personal brand has to actually be out there to make that difference. So I'm cracking out one little Instagram video every month, unfortunately, doesn't quite cut it. And when I was talking about the 7-11-4 concept to a friend of mine, and I said 7 hours, 11 touch points, 4 platforms, he immediately said, well, that's a lot of reels. And it is, that's a lot of short form content. But this is where long form content comes in. And that did massively influence what we decided to do at Howell Media and Howell Studios. So long form content and its powerful visuals, everything that you need, really does come through Howell Studios. And this is where I get to do a bit of a subtle plug. So I am the only one in this whole event who has the magic to show you really what's happening behind the scenes. And really when John and Phil and the Is This You team wanted to use the studio to make the most of this and to really kind of take advantage of this technology to boost their personal brands in a different way, to be innovative, to do something different than just getting people in a room with a bunch of slightly cold coffee. This is something that is different and is pushing the boundaries for what brands can really do. So I'm going to show you something here, and I hope you're ready for it. So if I'm on a different tab, put me on now. So 3, 2, 1, and here we are. So this is actually the studio. This is where the MAXIMISE 26 is happening. And it is so cool because I get to show you all of these amazing things. We have cameras, we have Chris over there, we have all these different things happening. But this is what it takes to bring something to life like this. And this is why I'm just so excited to show you behind the scenes. So if you want to boost your personal brand, if you want to be more visible in 2026, standing somewhere like this is absolutely crucial. So anyway, back to it. Okay, there we go. Much better. So this is where I'm really excited to show you something that I think you are going to absolutely love. And that is because you got a little glimpse behind the scenes here. You got to see what we do. You got to see what everything happens and how it all works. But what I am offering and what we have got is completely free to book a one-to-one demo. Come in, stand where I'm standing right now, stand where John's been standing, sit in the hot seat and see how it feels to have a podcast. Because when I talk about 7-11-4, when I talk about having long-form content, that's a lot of reels. That's a lot of LinkedIn conversations. That's a lot of things to happen. But 7 hours of podcasts, quite easy to achieve. You could do that quite quickly and your personal brand is already out there ready to go. So you can book a free one-to-one demo to sit here, stand here, see how it feels, see yourself on the screen and put yourself wherever you want. So your brand, your logo, your colors, everything about you can be here in the background, however you like. You can be in your own immersive space. But obviously that does take a little bit of time to get used to. I'm taking you from having no idea where to start with personal branding to having a podcast and being a host and being a presenter. Not everyone can be like John, basically. Everyone has to practice. This does take time. This takes effort to learn and to make the most of all of the skills and the coaching around you. So we have something else that, again, I'm really excited to talk about, which is the Learn Before You Launch. So Learn Before You Launch is a program that we've put in place for everyone who's watching this right now who goes, hang on a second, I know I really need to boost my long form content. I know I need to be more visible. I know that my voice and my personality and who I am as a personal brand need to stand out, but it is a lot of work and I don't think I'm ready yet. We have got a program that allows you to come on board and sit down with me and understand really what it takes to have a podcast, what it takes to do long form content, what it takes to get podcast ready. This includes strategy planning, working out what it is that you actually have to do, what your podcast does actually entail. And you also get to stand in the hot seat where I am right now. You get to sit in the studio and see how it feels to be a host, to practice those presenter skills and really get used to that feeling of being a host, having all this power to talk to the audience on the other side. So if you want to come along, that's on the 25th of February, 2026. And I can't wait to have, hopefully, a lot of you there because there's only 5 spaces available. So this has been really fun. Hopefully I haven't talked for too long, but if I was going to say anything before I go, it is just to take some time to just think, how can I personally, as myself, the things that I like about myself, how can I stand out and reach my audience on the other side? Is it showing off a skill that I have? Is it a video? Is it singing? Whatever it may be, think about something creative that you can do that really does make a difference and show who you are. So once again, I'm Izzy Howell. I'm from Howell Studios and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event happening here. And if you do want to come along and have a look, definitely let me know. But thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Izzy. You can see why she's on the Academy, can't you? She's an absolute superstar. And here's me thinking you all were thinking that I was in a Sky Sports studio that I'd built at the cost of like £3 million for MAXIMISE. We haven't. This is an amazing space to build your brand, build your image and talk to your audience. And Izzy said something interesting there where she said, you know, we can't all be like John, but I wasn't like me, you know. I wasn't like me till I got the mindset right. I wasn't like me till I dialed into what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, vision and mission. I wasn't like me, so I put the building blocks in place. And I didn't really post on LinkedIn till about 2 years ago. And I know you're all sick of seeing my baldy head appear on LinkedIn on a daily basis almost, but it's really worked. And putting yourself out there in front of people so they get to know you, it deepens the relationship. So, you know, I do a lot of networking events. We've just built a networking business again with Julie and Claire from the collective, which that's being launched next week at CM Hall. But it's completely sold out for the first one. But don't worry, Apex will be available to join later. It's just that we've got the 100 founder members coming, but we will be spreading it out across the region. So look out for Apex. But that really helped me build my brand. And being involved with the Northeast BIC and Growth Lab, it got me out there. It got the contacts going. It got people to the point where they know who I am. And it deepens the relationship, and it's know, like, and trust. Building that relationship with your audience, and there's no better place to do it than somewhere like this where you can get your brand across, you can get your message across, you can get your values across, and your skills. You know, you can really, really showcase your skill set and your expertise. So, talking about skill set and expertise, the next step within that strategy and then branding is marketing. So this was one of the high elements in what would move the dial for you, is getting more leads. And I'm really, really happy to welcome Jamie Ahmed. I first met Jamie at a Northeast BIC Growth Lab, and we talked beforehand, and I found out Jamie was an ex-wrestler. Is that right, Jamie? Yeah. And he came on to massive applause. I got to shout, "Let's get ready to rumble," which I ticked off one of my goals, and the whole audience went mad and high-fived him. But he's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. And he's part of the academy as well. Everyone here is part of the academy. We're all working with each other to build our businesses. And the reason I chose Jamie was because I think it's fascinating how he gets across marketing, messaging, how he's got that emotional resonance that we talked about. Phil talked about having to speak to the chimp when you actually market your product, when you actually go and sell your product. And Jamie's an expert at that. So I'd like to welcome you, Jamie Ahmed.
How's it going, guys? Jamie here from Jamie Ahmed Growth Coaching. I'm going to do something a little bit different here, and I'm going to take you through a little bit of a workshop style on how to build an on-demand lead machine. Very quickly, tiny bit about me. I work with coaches and consultants to help them grow their businesses, whether it's business coaches, mindset coaches, whatever it might be. Some of my clients have done, or all of my clients combined, I've helped generate over $100 million US in revenue, and some of those clients are spending 6 figures per day on paid ads. And last year I got one of my clients as the top 100 fastest growing company in the US on the Inc. 5000. So the stuff that I'm going to show you is not theory. It is built on what I have done in the real world. And the big thing that we always go back to is the thing that we do for these bigger companies, all of those people, those are the things that you can do as well. And I'm going to show you how to do those things. A couple of little bit of strategies here that we're going to go into, and I'm going to take you over to this tablet where I'm going to draw. Hopefully it comes up. There it is. How to build an on-demand lead machine. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make sure that you can see, yes, you can. Okay, so when it comes to selling your product and service, there is a hard way and there is an easy way. The hard way is the old way, okay? And who are we selling to? Well, it used to be, if you're anything like me, it used to be anyone. Because sometimes when you're just trying to get some sales, you're trying to get some customers and clients, you need to get money in and you resort to, okay, I'll just take anybody. The easy way to do that is to sell to one person, one single individual person, and we'll drill into who that person is. I like to call them your perfect future client, and we'll drill into that a little bit later. What do you sell them? And again, if you've been anything like me in the past and years gone by, it would be anything. Anything that brings revenue in, anything that gets somebody through the doors. When you run your own business, especially in 2025, there's lots of things. AI is coming in. There is lots of noise in the market. Whatever you are doing, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people offering the same service. I'm going to go into a little bit in a few minutes how to actually help you create a market of one to avoid that. But the easy way to get around that is to sell one promise. Now, I want you to stop thinking about your service as a service or your product as a product. I want you to think of it as a promise. What is the singular outcome that you will provide for somebody? When you start thinking in promises instead of products and services, you start to grab more attention and grab people where they are in real life. And why, if again, anything like me, whatever, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what the why was. It was just to get money in the door. But the easy way is to solve one problem. One singular problem. And how we do that is, and for me, back in the day, it used to be any means necessary, right? Because you want those clients and customers through the door, but we're going to give them just one plan. So the power of one is so important. When you start marketing your product and service to one person with one single promise that solves one problem with one single plan, things get very, very clear. And what we're going to do is dive into this one person here. As I come down here, again, I like to call this person the perfect future client. So I want you to start thinking about that for you. Who is your perfect future client? Who is that person for you? It might be, for a lot of people, it's if we could multiply this particular client by 100, then yes, that's the person that I want to come knocking on my door. That's what we're going to build for, okay? I want you to think of this quadrant here in the background. The horizontal line is a timeline. So we've got now, and then we've got in the future. And then the vertical is what we want to move away from and what we want to move towards. Okay, and this is going to help. This is going to help you figure out a massive part of your content and stuff. Obviously, Izzy has just done an unbelievable job of how to speak in your content and what content to provide. Who you are speaking to is very, very important, and we need to understand 4 things in order to do that. We need to understand in the now. We need to understand what their current frustrations are. Forgive my hieroglyphics here, I'm trying to write fast, but frustrations, I'm going to talk you through it. And a frustration now in the future is a fear. Okay, and then let's switch it up and get some nice green going. So now we want their goals for right now. And in the future, a goal is an aspiration, right? So aspiration. And there's a little trick here. You only need to know, really, the frustration section, okay? So I'm going to take you for how I did it with my paid ads agency and how we grew that massively and got the clients that we were talking about, generating over $100 million in revenue. Our perfect future client was a coach or a consultant, okay? So a business coach, for example. Their frustrations with paid ads agencies is that their big frustrations at the time is that they would take too long to get results. And as we're doing this, think about what this is for you and your perfect future client. They would take too long to get results. They would over-promise and under-deliver. And there was a lot of other things in terms of time and stuff like that. So if we just take these two, for example, you could write 3 to 5. I would advise you doing that. What we need to do in order to map this fear is say, okay, what happens if this continues? All right. Well, if it takes too long to get results, you're going to start losing money if it's not already happening right away. They overpromise and underdeliver. Again, you are losing money, but what happens if they keep overpromising and underdelivering? And what happens if you keep losing money? You're going to have to start laying people off. You might have to close the business. Okay, so now we're getting into the deep-rooted mind of your perfect future client. If we want to look at the goals, and we'll go green for goals, we have to take the frustrations, little trick here, take the frustrations and just flip them into instantaneous. So a goal would be to get an agency, in our case, to get results quickly, get results fast, over-promise and deliver, again, under-promise and over-deliver. I promise this is me writing, not my 3-year-old daughter, although that may trick you, and it looks like my 3-year-old daughter writing. So what happens if that happens, if those goals right now, what happens if they continue in the future, those aspirations, get results fast? Well, you're going to grow fast. Your business is going to grow fast. You're going to hit goals early. And again, if those things keep happening, well, you're going to be able to, you're going to be able to hire, you're going to be able to take time off. You're going to be able to have more holidays. You're going to be able to pay yourself better. All those things that we can keep, you know, we can go down the rabbit hole if you like. And I highly advise that you do go down the rabbit hole and really map out this perfect future client of yours. Okay. So straight away, just from taking this one frustration section here, we've got our perfect future clients, frustrations, goals, and then in the future, fear and aspiration. And by the way, a lot of the time, this can inform your marketing, this can inform your sales, but you're going to get an expert in session in sales right after me from the legendary, great and powerful JP, as we call him. But we've got, so all of this can inform your content as well. Yeah, this can inform you, give you ideas at least of what to do. And so when you're trying to make, as you were saying, you're trying to make all these videos and you think, God, that's a lot. You can come back to this perfect future client map and just say, all right, I can start pulling things from here. Starts to give you ideas and you're off to the races in terms of content. Now I also want to talk about getting leads. This is how to create leads on an on-demand lead system. There's an old way of thought or old way of doing business that everybody should go from leads to clients. But I think that's now the old way and the harder way. What I highly advise you to do is go from leads. You want to get clients, but if you're watching this, it's likely that your clients, your perfect future clients, are going to pay you thousands of pounds. So getting more leads to try to get them to pay you thousands of pounds is a hard job, especially when there's more competition. Yes, you're going to be empowered, especially from the next session with JP, but how do we make it easier? Well, I believe it was Dan Kennedy, the legendary Dan Kennedy, who said the best person or the easiest person to get to buy from you is your existing customers. So instead of taking a lead to a client, we're going to do the secret middle answer and we're going to create customers. So actually, creating an on-demand lead system is about creating on-demand customers. And this is the way that we did it with the agency, and it worked unbelievably well. We actually had in the 90% close rate when we did this, and we were maxed out with clients, which again, when you can start telling people online that you start to turn your services into application only. You cannot buy our services, you must apply. That gives a bit of authority, but it's also true. And you start telling people, look, I can't take on any more clients, I'm full right now. That also goes a long way as well. And it's also the truth. We're not exaggerating anything here. The plan for us, what I want you to do is think about how you deliver your service to your clients, whether it's 1, 2, 3, go to 5 steps if you like. 5 steps maximum. If you can keep it to 3, that's great. But how do you pull apart how you deliver your service to clients? What do you do for them? And start pulling it into steps. the way that we did it is, if we're a paid ads agency, what we'd end up doing is audit. Every paid ad agency does a free audit. Basically, what it becomes if the client is known one or two ads agencies, it becomes, oh, well, you're not doing this and you should be doing this, and we can do that for you better than nobody else, so give us £3,000 a month. It's the same kind of thing from everybody. You'd audit, you'd start to build the plan, you'd start to, and the audit takes a while. Like when somebody signs a paid ads agencies up, they're doing work behind the scenes before, a lot of time before things happen. So what we did is, there's a plan, and then they start creating, and then they launch, and then they optimize, basically. That's basically what happens, okay? So what we did is, in the agency, is said, okay, how can we pull this out and help our clients get faster? How can we deliver more value? Instead of just hopping on calls and doing a free audit, what can we do? So we come up with the idea of creating a plan. Now that plan we ended up taking the audit, the plan, and some of the creation, and we ended up pulling that out, and we called it a tactical growth plan. So this is work that if we sign a client, we have to do this work anyway. It already happens. It's going to happen regardless. So what we did, instead of our sales conversations started being start paying us £3,000 to £5,000 a month at the minimum, we started pulling this out and we sold this. We actually started selling it for $497 as a test, but we moved to $997. So we were selling it. So this is work that we're doing, but we're getting paid for it anyway. So it's worth doing. But when you can do this, this also meant, and this is why it was a win-win, because we would audit clients. One of the things that sometimes we would do in the audit is that, or when we took on a new client, is we would grow them to a certain degree, and then they would, once their business grows, they need to acquire their own new personal skills and be able to grow the business, and things start to fall off. If it was e-commerce that we used to work with, which we stopped working with for this reason, is once you grow an e-commerce business to a certain stage, they need more staff, they need a bigger warehouse, they've got stock control and all that kind of thing. That stops us from growing as well, because we didn't want 1 million clients, we just wanted a few clients that we could grow and grow with alongside them. So what we did was we took this out, we called it a tactical growth plan, and we sold this for less than £1,000. Our starting fees were £5,000, but what we did was we credited this. We said to them, okay, if we're a good fit, we'll actually just credit this to your first month. So that meant that it was free. They're basically going to get it for free, and that crediting is something I would highly advise you considering as well, because it really goes a long way in terms of building a relationship with them. So we do an audit, we do a plan, and we do the creating. So in this audit, we would actually assess the entire business, their website, their everything, because another great big fear, going all the way back up to this client map, is that in this frustration and fear section, is that what agencies would do is that 3 months down the line, when they were still over-promising, under-delivering, and the company started losing money, they would end up saying, well, we're doing fine, it's just there's something wrong with your website, it's not converting people, that's not an us thing, that's a you thing. So what we would do when we were talking to people is we would say, all right, we'll audit, inside the audit, we'll make sure that can't happen. We'll make sure all of anything that could possibly block us is out the way and already everything's running. If it's not, we actually genuinely didn't want to take them on, because that would stop us from growing as well. So we make sure that there is no problem. So that is a big frustration and future fear that we are taking away from this perfect future client, which they absolutely loved. In the plan, so the tactical growth plan was a 30 to 90 day plan. What we did was we did the creating as well. So we give them example ad copy, example ads, sometimes offers. We look at their what people now call a money model. How can we improve their margins and all that kind of thing. So we did that work because we were getting paid for it, and we were getting paid for it. It took between 3 to 5 days, but once you've done a few, then it gets faster. And especially now with AI, you could really power this up. And something similar for your business. So we would give them a plan. And what we would say is, if we're not a good fit, you've paid for this plan, like go and do it yourself. And that builds massive goodwill. That builds massive relationship. If you don't take on this client, then that's fine. You've built a relationship and you've sold something. You've been paid for your time. that person, even if they don't become a client, will probably refer people to you for your perfect future client as well. So you're constantly building. And I'm still talking about the example of us as an ad agency, but think about how you could do this for your service business and what you could do for people. And the way to think about this is, how can you make them go faster? How can you get them results faster? The days of we win with our secrets are gone, because now with the age of AI, information is no longer scarce at all. Everybody knows everything and can know everything. So don't try to sell clients with secrets, just try to help them go faster. And for us as well, we built around integrity, and I still do this. I still build around it, pride myself on integrity, and I want people to go faster. So if you're genuine, that helps a million miles as well. So the other thing that we did, and we're going back to talking about a market of one now, is on here, we gave, I want you to go through your steps, whether it's 1, whether it's 3, whether it's 5. I want you to give each of these steps a unique name. So you could give it, I'll just number them for you. But once you start numbering these, and then you number as well, you give this, you give a name, not a number, give a name to this system. Now nobody else does what you do. So every ad agency out there was doing free audits, but nobody was selling tactical growth plans, because that was something that we created, and it gives authority and presence and competence just in the name as well. So you can't get a free audit off us. Ours are paid and they're expensive by comparison. That instantly gives authority and competence, and it was the truth. So the more that we can tell people this, the faster that people start to believe you, but we can prove it as well at a low risk. They don't have to sign up for a minimum 3 months at, £3,000 a month. That is much higher risk than a one payment of $997 that might actually end up being free, because you might have found your perfect agency, which was our goal. So I'd love you to start thinking about this. How can you pull apart your services and sell individual pieces? Because in your 11 pieces of content, then that's what you can start talking about. When you go to networking events, that's what you can start talking about. It's much easier to go to these places and sell what you would deem as a low ticket and try to say that, all right, we do these things, we do these, instead of, even if your service is £500 a month, if you start selling something for £49 and you start taking that to networking events, you start taking that to your content. With your content, you can automate it. That's the key. What can you do and how much can you do that is on automation? Because if your content is scheduled and you've got something that sells these low ticket products on automation, if you can sell something that is, with AI, you can actually use plugins and tools and stuff like that, where you can just have things happen without you being there or have any involvement. But the goal is minimal involvement, because every service has a cost of delivery, whether it's time, whether it's whatever it is. The faster you can reduce that, the more scale that it has. Okay, the faster and the smallest you can shrink that cost of delivery, the more scale that you have. So your content that you've got ahead, you've listened to Izzy, you've watched this, you've listened to Izzy, you've took her advice on board. All of your content has some way to go or points to something. You've got links on your profiles and people are going, and it becomes an easy, low risk thing to buy this low ticket thing. And then the next obvious step becomes your high ticket service. And that is where the sales conversations begin. But we can automate this. We can create an on-demand lead machine by doing things this way. The next piece of the puzzle is the great and powerful JP, who's going to take you through the next discussion. For the generating an on-demand lead machine, if you've got any questions, drop them in the chat and I will try and answer them as John P is on here. But I highly advise you to pick up your pens and turn a new page and get ready to listen to JP as we welcome him up. Thanks for listening.
hello. Let's kind of get ready and rocking to get started. I'll get me little clicker. That's always a good start. Okay, are you ready to sell more in 2026? In terms of, I just want you to kind of think, like I've went backwards. We've all survived 2025, and well done for doing that. Now, are you a business owner who has to sell, or are you somebody who has sales that kind of come through in waves? Is it feast and famine? If this is the case, this is a talk which will hopefully be useful for yourself. So, why me? So, I've been selling for 25 years. That wasn't me when I first started, but I've been doing this for a very long time. I've worked with thousands of sales professionals, and I've worked for some fairly large organisations doing 7-8 figure sales targets. And what I want to kind of get across today is every seller has to start somewhere. And what I kind of want to put a call of action out is, today, 2026, is when you need to start selling. So, what I'm going to talk about is sell first mentality. We need to reframe how we think about selling. I'm also going to hopefully give you some kind of quick takeaways and hopefully give you an opportunity to find your first customers after this talk. And then I'm going to kind of dip into the communication ladder, which is how you communicate with people, and in terms of how you've just got to get going and you just got to start. And I think that's the kind of key message here is just do it. Just start. So, we've all probably watched the movie, Field of Dreams, very, very good movie. And the kind of famous quote from that is, build it and they will come. And I think a lot of founders, a lot of business owners operate it in this kind of mentality. We are perfectionists. We try to spend ages working on our product and thinking about everything. And one of the things that we don't actually think about is the people who are going to buy it from us. So the best way to test a product is actually just ask people and have a conversation with people, and they will give you the feedback that you need to see what the product needs to be. So we have this situation of perfectionism, and it stops us actually phoning, contacting people, because what we want to do is we really want to get it right before we speak to them. And that's the wrong way around. Speak to people first, and they will give you the answers. But the main reason people don't want to do it is they don't want to hear the word no. We are sensitive to rejection. Now, I'm going to give you some brutal truth here. If you're a business owner or you're a salesperson, people will say no to you. You've just got to get used to it. So we need to stop away from kind of this perfectionism and just do it. Now, this may seem familiar to most business owners. I've started a business. I'm going to do this thing. It's amazing. I'm going to go off and I'm going to make a fancy logo, and I spend a week doing a fancy logo. And then I'm going to build a website, and it takes 6 weeks to do that. I go to a load of networking events. I'm going to post every day on social media. I'm even going to get the branded pens and the business cards. And guess what? No sales. Crickets. You've done what everybody else has done. And what you haven't done is told anybody what you do. You're not having conversations. Now, one of the things which I've learned over 20 years working in sales, working with some fantastic sales leaders, is sales is really straightforward, and we skip the basics. It's just about having a conversation with another human being. So what we do is just spend ages trying to build stuff. Just talk to people. That's the magic. There's no, issue. The reason why we don't is because we get worried about somebody saying no to us. So for me, just having the bravery and the courage. Now, one of the things which I've learned from Phil and John, confidence doesn't actually come before the event. Confidence comes after you've done it. So actually what you really need to look at is be brave enough to make mistakes, be brave enough to get it wrong. That's where the learning is. And nobody will chastise you or chase you out if you're having a conversation with them. Because we all like to talk, as Bob Hoskins used to say. Now, did anybody watch, now I won't give any spoilers, did anybody watch the end of Stranger Things? Again, I'm not going to go into the actual synopsis of the thing, but they kind of operate in the right side up and the upside down. And I think where a lot of business owners and salespeople operate is in the upside down. They're kind of frustrated. It's that kind of dead space. There's no money coming in. They've got the worry. They've put the time, the effort into running their business, and still nothing there. They've built the business cards, website, and everything like that, but they still haven't talked about it. So it might be quite counterintuitive, but actually, the first thing to do is sell your idea and then build everything on the back of it. So that's kind of the key message. You've just got to do it because, as my dad used to say, shy Ben's getting out. Or as my gran used to say, shy Ben's get no sweets. So realistically, you've just got to do it. And I know I'm going to kind of keep repeating the message. The act of selling is the bravery of having conversations with people. And it doesn't matter if they say no. You will get said no to, but you'll get more people to say yes. And guess what? People get paid great amounts of money in sales, not for the yeses. They get paid the money because of all of the no's. So just do it. Now, there's a really good phrase which I like to say here. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody's willing to die. And this is where a lot of people are looking at this. So what we have here is a cut full of graphs. And everybody wants to be the recognised brand 3 years in, where you get floods of inbound leads. Wouldn't that be lovely? I'm sure it would be. But practically when you're starting a business, nobody's heard of you. Nobody has any reputation built up. So actually when you're first starting, you've just got to do the grunt work. You've just got to get out there and tell people what you do. And then probably after about 12 months, what will end up happening is you will get trickles of inbound leads coming in because you've got a reputation, you've got clients, but you'll still need to get out there, network, speak to people, tell people about what you do. Now, there is a bit of a cheat code, and I'm not plugging because he did a wonderful job plugging me. If you are going to want to speed this process up and you don't have 3 years to wait for your inbound leads, speak to Jamie or somebody who runs an agency who's an expert in marketing because they can accelerate. But if you're bootstrapping and you don't have the money, you've just got to pick up the phone and speak to people. In terms of making money, which we're hopefully all here to do, there's 2 ways to do it. It's not the right way or the wrong way. There's the fast way and there's the slow way. The slower way, more considered way, and what will bring in more revenue eventually is having a really good marketing strategy. But this is where most people start, which is they build content, they have an email list, they do public speaking, they do branding, etc., etc. Most people do this, guess why? Because nobody says no to you. If I put a post out, I might not get many likes, but nobody's actually going to go, that's a bit crap. So actually, we are preventing ourselves, and kind of going back to Phil's chimp, our chimp is going, if we put ourselves out there, nobody likes it, hurts us emotionally. So we avoid the emotional hurt by not doing the stuff that we need to do. There is a bit of pain. Now, when it comes to one-to-one selling, it's conversation, it's face-to-face, it's direct messages, it's cold calling. It's also warm calling. Now, the truth of the matter is, if you want fast cash, this is where the quick wins are. Speak to people. Do it now. Do it later. Do it tomorrow. That's where you're going to make your money. And as Nike says, just do it. I hope you're getting the point of what I'm trying to say. Just do it. I have read thousands of, well, not thousands, I'm not clever, hundreds of sales books. I've been to lots of training events. I've delivered lots of training events, and I'm going to save you thousands of pounds right here and now. I'm going to save you loads of time reading through all of this books. Selling is really simple. It is really, really simple. It's just asking the right questions at the right time to the right people. That is, if you read everything from all of the authors, that's what they say. Questions are the answer. Ask the questions to the people. Does this sound like a good idea for you? I've had this thought, would that be useful? And if they turn around and say no, cool, there's thousands of other people out there that you can help and support. Just ask them, and you'll get more yeses. And you're not doing it in a kind of manipulative Wolf of Wall Street way where you're kind of using all of these mind Jedi techniques. I've got this thing, would that be useful? Yeah, would that solve your problem? Brilliant, let's have a conversation. Now, what a lot of people do, this is my thermometer of sales, they start off and go, I have this product, and I'm going to go off into the world and speak to loads of strangers and try to tell them about what I do. It's the worst thing you can do. The best, the easy money, the quick money is people who've already bought from you, your current clients. And as Jamie kind of pointed out before, if you have a introductory offer and a small sale, like they then become a client, which you can then upsell them a bigger offer. The next thing is speak to your past leads. They might have converted. Your prices might have been too cheap. They might have been too high. It might have been the wrong time. Speak to them second. Then go to your existing network. Go to people who you already know. Your friends, your family, people like your network and who you've got a personal relationship with. Then you'll go to your warm audience. And your warm audience are people like you might have connected on LinkedIn or something like that. They're aware of you, but they don't really know you personally. And then, once you've exhausted all of that, which you shouldn't, because you should have thousands of people on LinkedIn, you should have hundreds of people in your phone, and hopefully you've got friends and family. So you'll have a big list. So the last thing is the cold outreach. And I just want to kind of quickly go through this. Why would you go to your current clients first? Well, they've already paid you. Isn't it great when you get people who have actually paid you money? That's a bit of sales that I love, when it goes in your bank account. Then you've got your past leads, because they've already considered you, and they kind of know where you're at. Your existing network, they've got a personal relationship, and you've already got trust. Trust is really important in sales. And this is why when you do cold outreach or cold calling, the buggers don't know you, they don't trust you, so why would they buy off you? So high trust equals high sales. Once you've done that, go to your wider audience. They know you, they don't know you personally. And it's just a case of, I've got this idea, would you like to have a meeting? And then finally, if you are going to cold outreach, should never ever, and I know there'll be people watching this who might disagree with this, should never ever sell on a cold outreach. Message, email, phone call. And the reason why is they don't know you, don't trust you. So what you want to do is try to get a meeting or a conversation started or book that in. And that's when you sell. So I just really want to finish off with a little story about my daughter, Ivy. And you might not realise what this is about. But a couple of weeks ago, literally 2 weeks today, I pick her up from school on Friday and we decided to have a Disney movie experience in the house. And I went and got the popcorn. And she likes cooking and stuff, and it's not really my forte. But we got the kernels and we popped it properly and it was all, great. And we got the bowl out and we were watching Disney, and she went quiet and she went into the other room. Now, she's only 4-year-old and it's kind of out of character. So I went, well, what's she done? And of course, she'd stuck a kernel in her ear because it was too loud on my surround sound mega TV. And straight away, the panic sets in. And I'm thinking, crikey, what I'm going to do? It wasn't coming out, it was proper jammed in there. So what was the first thing that went through my head? I'm going to have to go to A&E. I'm going to have to jump in the car and go and see a doctor. And failing that, I'm going to phone 111 and have a conversation. Failing that, I phone 999. But I need to get this sorted very, very quickly because it's an emergency. Luckily, after a little bit of playing around with tweezers, we managed to get it out. But that would have been a situation. So an emergency happened and I had to react. Now, we all have these situations, don't we? Now, when you got no money coming into your business, you've got no sales, is that an emergency? But how do most people operate? They send somebody a text on WhatsApp or an email, and then hopefully they'll get back to them. And if you're a little bit more tech savvy, you'll go and do a voice tag on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or whatever. And even if you're a bit more technical, you'll do a video message. Now, if my daughter's had something stuck in her ear, I'm not going to send someone an email going, could you help us with that, please? You wouldn't, because you're waiting for somebody to come back to you, and there was an emergency. So what do most people do? They kind of send stuff off into the ether, hoping that'll come back. But this is where the magic happens. The best way to sell is face-to-face, and I truly believe that. It's a one-to-one interaction. It's a two-way communication. So more face-to-face, especially after COVID and lockdown and everything like that, human interaction is more important than ever before. Then, if you can't, for whatever reason, because of distance, jump on a video call, Zoom or whatever. Fantastic opportunity. And then, if not, use the phone. Pick up the phone and have a conversation. It's two people having a conversation about stuff. It's the most effective way to get your message out there. And guess what? You can spend ages and ages and ages doing funnels and all of that kind of stuff. I could pick up the phone and have 20 conversations with potential buyers right now. Well, not right now because I'm doing this, but yeah, it's the quickest way to cash. And you don't have to do it forever, but if you're building and you're starting, speak to people. So, I did say I'd go through this. So, the points that I want to just recap. Sell first, build later. Get your ideas out there, talk to people. In terms of your personal pipeline, speak to people that you already bloody know. Leave the call to last. And hopefully you don't ever have to touch it. And you won't get as much rejection with these people. And then finally, the communication ladder. Speak to people face-to-face, over the phone, over Zoom, have two-way communications, and you will get more sales. So, just want to finish off with a quote from Chris Williamson. He did a podcast here a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? One of the biggest podcasters in the world. And what he says is the magic of what you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. And isn't that the case? We're avoiding selling because we don't like it. It's a bit hard. We don't want the rejection. But if you do it, you'll get the results. So the title of this talk was Sell More in 2026. It's not making more sales. It's a call to action. Sell more. Get out there, speak to people. If you need any structure, or if you need any help, if you need any advice, hit us up. I'm more than happy to have the conversations with people. So there you go. Thank you very much.
Wow, what amazing value. I hope you feel you've just had MAXIMISE 26. We're not quite finished, but I've got a few words to say. The academy that we run, this has put me in touch with these amazing people. So, Izzy, Jamie, JP, we have implemented virtually everything that they've said in Is This You? This is why people say to me, how is This You scaled so quickly? How you're an overnight success. How have you got to where you have in such a short period of time? Well, first of all, the overnight success is 30 years in the making. But we have connected with people and developed relationships with people. Success isn't a solo sport, it's a team sport. You get there together. Connection and collaboration and working together is the key. Nobody knows everything. But between us, we've got strategy, mindset, branding, leads, and sales. Virtually all the fundamental cornerstones of success is here in the collective. And just to go along on the know, like, trust factor. So when we launched Is This You? We did the hard yards. We were at every networking meeting possible. We talked to everybody. We built that know, like, trust.
getting in front of people at networking events and then speaking at networking events was massive, because that gives you the authority and the credibility, and people know that you know what you're talking about and you can help them. So you're starting to build your contacts, build your database, build your profiles. And we adopted exactly what JP said with Apex. So Apex is coming. Look out for Apex. It's going to be big. But it launches next week. Again, at Same Hall, it's sold out. But the way we did that is we went out to our contacts first, our network first, and asked them what they wanted. And we asked them to sign up for something that's coming from these people who they know, like, and trust can do the job. What do you want from connection? What do you want from business networking? What do you want from events? And we got 200 people signed up to something that they didn't know what it was. It's insane. And out of that, we sent a lengthy questionnaire, and we got 100 people giving us real insight. And we've built Apex on that. So we know that it's exactly what people want. So we didn't build it all first and then try to sell it. We understood the market, what the demand was, and then we've built it. So, and what we've done as well is we've adopted everything Jamie said. So you'll see in the next slides that I've adopted everything Jamie said. And I hope that you see that we can add massive value to you personally and to your business or your organization. And we give a lot of value away free. This event, for instance, and other events that we'll do. But if you want to work with us closely, if you think that we can really elevate and escalate your results in 26, then if we have a quick look at the slides again, Chris? No. There we are. Yeah, just if proof needed that, you know, we have made an impact. The Northeast BIC is a place close to my heart. When I did my, life change in 21, the first place I looked at was the Northeast BIC. And I hadn't been a coach before, but I had built 2 7-figure businesses. I had, at that point, had 27 years in business. But I wanted to help people. That was my real kind of mission. And I went to the BIC, and I got a contract as a business advisor, and that got me on this path of actually being a coach, being an advisor, a consultant. That led me to Growth Lab. That led me to put me in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. And it built my confidence, because at that point, if you remember, I was just getting out of the house. I couldn't do this. No way. And that's all about pushing that comfort zone, building confidence by doing. So if you think this has been tremendous value, and I hope you do, and if you think that we can have a real impact in your business or with your team or with you personally, we've got a product pyramid here, and I'm not going to go and try and sell you this straight away because I listened to Jamie. These guys really help us scale rapidly. But this is what we offer. We've got Advantage OS, which is our platform that we showed you, the software platform. Advantage OS and 1 group coaching call per week. We charge $199 plus VAT. That's massive value. You get the software and you get us monthly. We move up to Advantage OS plus 1-to-1 coaching. That's sitting down in your premises or on Zoom, and we coach you 1-to-1, utilizing our whole academy network as to if we've got a problem, who's best to suit. And you've seen the network, and JP and Jamie and Izzy are all part of that. Then we've got our Chartered Management Institute recognized academy, where you can train to be a coach. You can build a business within our business. You get accredited, you get all our tools, frameworks, and you get multiple users on the platform, which means that you have a massive competitive advantage. If you're putting your coaching services out there, and what have you got that other coaches haven't got? You've got our software, and you can set your business up on that software and run it for all your clients. And then we've got the enterprise. So the enterprise is what we do with the big companies. So your Siemens and all those other big ones, where we'll see what it is that you need to move the dial for your business. we're talking about, again, the Jamie strategy. I think I know quite a lot of people on here. I think, you know, you're either on my network or we've met at events, so you've seen some of my content. But what we've got, I think, is something of real value if the clicker works. Yeah, there we are. There we are. So we've got our Advantage Business Accelerator. See, we've got a name for it, just as Jamie says. And I think we're offering tremendous, tremendous value here. So what we can do with this is you get the software, you get all 5 of us in the room to work and deep dive onto your business. You get the ability to look at the obstacles, to look at the blocks and work them through. Build that strategy that you need, in depth, deep dive into your business, backed up with the platform. So we're offering this 20 places because what we don't want to do is have too many people on there that we can't service everybody. So it's a full day, 9:30 till 3. It's online, but I think you've seen the energy here. You've seen the insight and the value. I think, you know, we'll have some comfort breaks. You know, we'll have a lunch break. But I think you'll get tremendous value out of this. You'll really, really be able to maximize 26 and move the dial personally in your business as a founder or even with a team. And as Jamie says, if you then become a client, we take the credit for the $199 and take it off the next step. So we are so confident in what we can do for your business. We are so confident how we can help you grow at pace, as we have, that we're offering that package. So 20 people online with the 5 of us. Let's smash your goals. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been part of Maximize 26. Absolutely incredible support from all of our Academy members. It's been amazing. And a huge, huge shout out to Howl Studios. This is incredible. You need to be on Sky to do this. You know, it's unreal what they've put together for us here. Next level stuff. So please have a chat with Izzy and Chris about what this can do for your business, because we've now got 3 hours of content to put out. That's it. So this 3 hours of content, delivering, hopefully you'll agree, massive value to you guys, can also be used going forward for our socials, for our sales presentations, for whatever it might be. And that's the beauty of the studio. And that's the beauty of long-form content, whether that's a podcast, whether that's an event, whether that is even your in-house training videos. It can all be made to look sensational and be on brand. So I think we're finishing a little bit earlier than we said. I know that there's been quite a lot of comments in the box. I don't know if there's anything we want to catch up on or talk about, or any talking points. Or if not, you can all go to the loo. That would be, I'm sure I am wanting to go to the loo. So what do you think, guys? Is there anything you want us to jump onto in the comments? Or do you think we've put people through enough and they're going to have a little break? Yeah, little break? I mean, a big break. I mean, like, as in we're finished. So, again, thank you to everyone who's been part of Maximize 26. I hope you've really enjoyed this. I hope you've seen what's possible. I hope you've seen the barriers that you might have and how to smash through them. I hope you've got the techniques to actually go to the marketplace and do more and be more in 2026. Thank you very much.